over.
You want to go home then?
Want to go home.
Okay.
Just in the Marine Corps, I ain't got too much, just a good year, that's all.
A peaceful year.
He
Yeah.
wants to be a good Lance Corporal.
Well, I'm sure he'll make it. Thank you.
I don't know.
What's your name and how was 1984 for you?
Andy Peterson is all right.
What do you think for 85?
I'm gonna quit smoking.
That's a real popular answer. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Go for it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Your name and what's your New Year's resolution?
My name is Sergio Flores, and my New Year's resolution is to ride my motorcycle in 1985.
What kind?
A Honda 80.
Oh, I hope you get it. Thank you.
Okay.
Due next year.
Okay, now first tell me your name. What's your name?
Audrey.
Audrey, you're very cute. Now, what do you want to do this new year?
Go with my dad and visit him.
You want to go visit your daddy? Where does he live?
Over there by his house.
Well, I'm sure you'll get to do that. We'll see you later. Okay, what's your name and how was 1984 for you?
My name is Chris Rohn, and 1984 was good for me.
What do you think about 85?
I hope it'd be better than 1984.
Do you have any goals?
Yeah, to be able to get all A's in school.
That's a real good one, and you won't regret it. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Hi, how are you, and how was 1984 for you?
Oh, it's pretty good.
What's your name?
Kimberly?
Dantes.
Dances. Do you have a New Year's resolution?
Yes.
What is it?
To go to bingo and win all the money.
How about you? What do you want from the new year?
I don't know.
Anywhere you want to go, anything you want to buy, anything you want to do?
Yeah.
What's that?
Go back to Ohio.
And visit. Well, I hope you get to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now listen, let me give you our card.
Well, with the Christmas season behind us, the State Board of Equalization, keeping with the Christmas spirit, is offering tax amnesty for California businesses or residents who have in the past perhaps made some minor mistakes or major ones on their tax returns. And if it's bothering them, all they need to do is call the State Board of Equalization for amnesty. Now, here's an interesting story for you. A Southern California resident who was actually a professional Santa Claus ended up coming up for amnesty. And of course, the state has netted over $2 million already in the program. The program will expire March 15th, 1985. Well, it turns out that old Saint Nick had earned income from selling Santa Claus photos and wrapping gifts at local malls and stores throughout California. He paid more than $3,000 in back sales taxes. Also, of this $2 million collected so far from the personal income tax side, more than $780,000 has been contributed from merchants in back sales taxes. The largest check so far received by the Franchise Tax Board was $130,000 from a Bay Area citizen who, well, just had enough of those sleepless nights. Now, the smallest check they've received was 12 cents. We're not sure who that was from, maybe from a lemonade stand or something. But the State Board of Equalization is here to help you and serve you, and all you need to do is dial information, ask for the California State Board of Equalization or the Franchise Tax Board. Tax amnesty expires March 15th.
Hi. Success without stress. Is it possible? Our guest tonight is a gentleman we're very pleased to have here who says it is. And he's done it both ways. How are you tonight, Desi?
Okay, Marta.
You're okay?
Yeah.
I'm tickled to have you here. I can't believe it. I feel like I know you, as most of the world, since we grew up with you on TV. And I've been reading a lot about you lately. Everywhere I look, it seems. And I'd like to discuss tonight not only the Vernon Howard Stress Seminars, but how you came to be involved with Vernon and what you went through before that.
Right.
One would look at you and say, the picture of everything one could want. We all know what that is. I don't have to go into it. All the material possessions, fame, wealth, your parents, everything. You name it, you've got it. And then, but it appeared it didn't work out that way for you, and I'd like to hear it directly from you. Why not?
Right. Well, interestingly enough, that was one of the things as far as having all of the so-called things that the world says guarantees happiness, that started me off at a very early age questioning whether or not what the world called happiness was.
What was that age, Desi?
3.
Mike. You sound like me.
About 4, maybe 4 or 5. Well, no, because I mean, I did. By the time I was 6 years old, I was performing, and by the time I was 12, I was in a rock and roll band traveling around the country, and not only what I did, but what my parents did and all the success that they had and all. But what I saw growing up, not only in my life, but with everyone else that I grew up with. I grew up in this place called Beverly Hills. I looked around and nobody was happy.
Maybe because life is stress.
Well, maybe because what the world says guarantees happiness, like ending up in Beverly Hills, isn't happiness. But the sad part about it all was everybody was pretending that they were happy. And they had to keep the mask up and deceive themselves and deceive other people by saying, oh no, this is happiness, come on. Sure, no, we're really happy, come on to Beverly Hills. And I saw nothing but heartache when I was growing up with the children that I grew up with, children of other people in show business and their parents, and not that they weren't successful.
Oh, I understand.
And talented. And as far as my parents were concerned, should be, enjoyed for their talent and their, their creativity and all. But they're just like everybody else.
You realized that very young in life, then?
I knew that very young in life. I knew that they were exactly like everybody else because I went out and I was on my own at a very early age, too. And I bought into the whole thing as well. In other words, I wasn't immune to it either, which is very interesting. Even though I saw it, I still thought, well, I believed in the lie, in other words.
Well, you were preconditioned.
That's right. Growing up thinking that, well, it must be true. If you make enough money and, find the right person, that's another one. That's a big one.
But you're no different than the guy down the street.
It's all the same. It's all the same conditioning. And then another thing that we were talking about before was with drugs and alcohol, that I went through a long battle with drugs and alcohol. But initially starting off is thinking that this is something that the world says guarantees happiness. And it doesn't.
And acceptable, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, for me, when I started, drugs was becoming like the new lifestyle. So I started at a very early age. And initially, you think that that's going to do it for you, too. But that's just temporary. All the things that the world says are lasting, permanent happiness as far as power, property, and prestige. Power meaning outward success. There's nothing wrong with those things. That's not what see, that's not what I'm saying either. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with making money, that there's something wrong with being talented or being successful. But if you've forgotten what's real happiness is, which is something we've all forgotten. See, now this is what...
Or maybe never experienced, too.
That's very good. That's right. Because what we're here to talk about is what success without stress. And these are classes that are talking about uncovering what you were intended to be to begin with, which is a person that's free from fear.
Not changing anything, just getting you back to basics.
That real change is not becoming or acquiring anything, but ending what's preventing you from being who you really are, what you were intended to be to begin with, which is a happy, healthy person who's not dependent on people, places, and things, whether it's drugs and alcohol or other types of things that cause. See, stress comes from this feeling of being incomplete. And the conditioning that we're given tells us that we must look for something outside of ourselves in order to fulfill us, right?
Yes.
You're told that. You're told the money, the job, the relationship, the car, the house, the children.
Even your appearance.
Your appearance, that's very good. Those things are going to guarantee happiness. Now, you get all those things. You do the best you can. You get all those things, and there's something missing.
You're not happy.
You're still not happy. That's right. So what we're saying is that we've been duped into thinking that, number one, the idea of being incomplete is a hoax. That, in fact, when a human being is born, he's born with everything necessary to be a whole, happy, healthy, decent human being, but we're never taught that. We're taught just the opposite. And it causes unbelievable stress.
Oh, I believe it.
And then that stress runs your life for the rest of your life. You're listening to something telling you that you're incomplete and that you must complete yourself by looking for something outside of yourself. And this is what stress is. And what these classes, Success Without Stress, and a man named Vernon Howard, who's been writing books for 30 years about inner health, is saying that real success is seeing what's preventing you from being what you're intended to be to begin with, which is a complete, happy, whole, healthy human being. But you must now get rid of all that conditioning that's telling you you're incomplete.
And it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's, and what we just said sounds, you understood what I just said, right?
Oh, yes.
Now the work is in doing that, and the way to do that in these classes is we give people information where they can then take it and apply it. Nobody can do it for you, which is good news, really, which means that you're capable of doing it, that it is possible. And one of our stress-related problems is thinking that somebody else is going to do it for us.
Can lift the burden.
That causes stress.
Carry the load.
Because
Yeah.
then you have this belief, this idea about somebody or something is going to do it for you, is going to make you happy, and it never works that way.
In other words, Vernon Howard stresses that you accept yourself for what you are, in the fact that you are perfect in how you are made by the Creator, and how you personally, does it vary for each person how they would react and deal with the situation, since we're all different?
Now this is very interesting. That's a good question. And what we see is in direct proportion to seeing where it is we're hurting ourselves, we see what real health is.
So he helps you zero in on those
In other words,
problem
you have
spots.
to get, you can't pretend that you're going to, in other words, you have to let go of what's hurting you without really knowing, without creating some other false self about,
I
now I'm
understand.
this person who understands. You first have to really let go of a whole, what we like to call the false self that's been created through many, many years of conditioning. Now, but as you're doing that, where, in other words, let's say you see where it is you're hurting yourself, there's a real intelligence when it sees that would never hurt itself. So it's a gradual withdrawal or elimination of self-defeating behavior. And little by little, you start walking away from everything that's wrong with you. So, and then in direct proportion to walking away, you walk towards something that's been there all along, but you don't need to describe it really. It isn't the description. It's not, because the description is very limited, like what you are. It is finding out what you really are, but it's much more than just thought. It's much more, it's like, imagine a life that would be free of worry.
I don't know if I could take it.
You know, or if you'd want to, you know, one of our problems is we think that, what would I be without where would I be without my problems?
Where would I be without my stress?
Yeah, that's right. Who would I be? So what we're talking about is who we really are, let's say, is something very different than what is presently running our lives. And so it's by seeing how that's hurting us, and if you see the severity of it, there's a real intelligence, though, that would never go along with that, and that's how you begin to walk away.
Don't you believe deep down that most people really deep down know who they are and what they are?
I believe that most people know what's right and wrong.
And it's getting the strength to reach
Yeah.
into that
I believe that
and
we
pull
really,
it out.
That's right. I really believe that people, and not only do I believe it, I know, because I know that I know where it is I'm hurting myself.
Yes.
You see, and that's where, in other words, a right way of thinking is that if you want to change, it's not, you don't become something, you stop doing what's hurting you.
Rearrange?
Yeah, because if the premise is that you're uncovering what you were intended to be, then there's nothing to become. See? So, no, it's ending. It's literally ending. In other words, it's getting rid of. It's like
shedding a coat?
Yeah, no, it's like we've been taught to accumulate things, right?
Yes.
Well, this is about getting rid of things. It's about getting rid of what's wrong with you in order to end up with what is whole, is complete.
Real.
Yeah, and there's no reason to describe that. But we can, isn't this practical? Doesn't this seem, if there is reality, wouldn't it be obvious that the only way to approach reality would be to see what isn't real?
Of course.
Right. So that's what we're talking about. So the classes are for a person to watch and see what comes up inside of them, whether it's certain thinking, habitual thinking, repetitive thoughts, harmful thoughts and harmful emotions that come up inside of you, whether it be anger, or fear or depression or loneliness, and zero in on them and not run away from them anymore, not listen to what they're telling you to do.
Face the giant.
Because what happens is that when you run away from them, you make them real.
Yes.
Because why would you be running away?
Not only that, you usually fall down.
And they usually tell you to do something. They'll say, here, I'm loneliness. This will help you. Go do this. Loneliness tells you to go do that. Depression tells you to go do this. And usually, what it tells you to go do doesn't make it better. It makes it worse.
I think so.
Because if loneliness is telling you what to do, it's like...
You're being guided by a ghost. It's not real.
That's right. It's making what isn't real even worse. In other words, you're believing in it even more.
Is this done en masse? Do people get together in these seminars and go through this process where they each find their own?
Well, it's done in a friendly group of people discussing these principles. There's a talk and there's a question and answer period, and the classes are very different. There's no money involved like there are in big seminars.
Boy, that is different.
Really different. It is. And there's only a $3 donation requested at classes, and Vernon Howard's books and tapes are sold, and there are tapes of all the classes. And these classes have been going on for 15 years in Southern California and up in San Francisco and Santa Barbara, Ventura County.
Oh, he's highly successful.
And he has been writing books for about 30 years. And stress kills people.
Yes, it does.
See, so
In
I
many
don't think you have
forms.
to get that far.
But a lot of people don't realize that.
I think this is about learning how to be free from stress before you die.
Well, this is it. You don't have to be on the verge of dying or
That's right.
total destruction to find the
That's
secret
really
of
what
success.
That's right. That's what these classes are about, is learning how to walk away from, it's like
Potential bombs. You know?
walking away from fear before you're lying there
Picking up the
unable to
pieces.
walk away.
That's right.
No wonder he can't walk away. He can't get up. But part of this psychologically is about not getting up. In other words, surrendering to, in other words, not running, like we talked about, not running away, saying, okay, fear. Now, you don't have to be physically, but you say, okay, I want to know if you're real or not. Let's see.
And you don't have to get beaten down so far that you need to hold up that hand to get pulled up either.
No, it's psychological.
I know that. People suffer from that delusion, though.
We've already, now this is another thing, we've already gotten beaten up,
Sure.
Marta.
Oh, I know.
People don't know that, though. See, we're already in the position of being shambles. Humanity is not, as a whole and individually, people are in terrible pain.
Yes, they are.
And I don't care if it manifests itself outwardly or not. There is this conditioning that's unconscious that's running people's lives that they're not aware of, including me. This is what I'm saying, is that this is uncovering that, but not running away from it when you uncover it. And then it's very interesting what happens, because it actually disappears when you don't run away. Because what happens is you see it for what it is, which is false. It's not real.
That's right.
And it's fantastic, but what we're saying is like, well, I don't have to get to the point that I'm hurting myself. Well, I think that's a lie too. I think that's part of the problem, is people think that there's time left to do something, and there isn't a whole lot of time.
You
left.
never know when your ticket's going to get punched.
That's right. That's another thing too. People, what's our responsibility to life
And to others.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you do that? How are you responsible to me? How am I responsible to you?
Oh, many ways.
Well, first you have to see where it is you're responsible for yourself.
Yes.
If I continue to hurt myself, there's no way I can not hurt you. I will hurt you. And the only way I can stop hurting you is if I stop hurting myself. And the only way...
That's right.
See, that's it. That's
We
all.
all affect each other.
Yeah.
No man's an island.
And the way you are, actually, the way you are is what you give to other people. If you're interested in the Success Without Stress classes, they're in Del Mar on Saturdays at 10:30 in the morning, and Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. in La Mesa. And they're called Success Without Stress. And for information about the classes and address, directions on how to get to the classes in Del Mar and La Mesa, you can call 439 7021. That's area code 619-439-7021. And we'll be happy to answer any questions and tell you about the classes and whatever else you want to know.
That's great. And thanks again.
Okay.
So remember, for success without stress, you dial 439-7021. For North County News Scene, I'm Marta Candice.
Here on North County News Scene, we've told you about the Health Concern, located in the Vineyard in Escondido, where they help all citizens of the North County with health education and maintenance programs. There's a special coming up called the Caregivers Support Group. Now, this program will be staged January 11th and January 25th at the Health Concern. Now, what they're doing is giving a free service for families whose members are ill, terminally ill, this sort of thing, and they're going through a lot of crisis right now. Well, the Health Concern is going to give the Caregiver Support Group something extra special, and that is confidence for the future. All you need to do is dial 746-0700 for more information. The Health Concern is concerned about everybody's health.
He risks his life as strangers, but in his own life, he's chicken. He really was afraid to have a checkup for colorectal cancer. I told him, John, people over 50 should have colorectal checkups. It's the second biggest cancer killer for our age group. After my checkup, I said, if you don't have a colorectal checkup, John, you're risking your life. He understood that and had his checkup. He just wasn't used to saving his own life.
Our children need to be prepared to face a world that is becoming increasingly complex. Escondido's Fine Arts for Juniors is a fine way to help your youngsters develop the skills they will need for becoming the problem solvers of tomorrow. The fine arts develop perceptual thinking, so critical to verbal, mathematical, and reasoning skills. They promote conceptual thinking, so crucial for success in reading, language arts, and communication skills. They teach students how to understand and use symbols, how to effectively interpret reality. Prepare your children for tomorrow at Escondido's Fine Arts for Juniors, a fine way to open up the world to your youngsters.
Well, so there you have it. North County News Scene each week here on cable television. We appreciate you, the viewer, to give us your comments, criticisms, suggestions, ideas for stories. All you need to do is dial 745-7443. And we always have an answering machine or somebody on duty to take your comment. On behalf of myself, Dave Flores, and Marta Candice, we hope you all have a great week coming up and, of course, a great new year. We'll be looking for you again next week.
Here you see what one man